Hey, welcome back to another episode of Simple Truth Television. Today is June 25th, 2021. So the Tampa Bay Lightning, they just defeated the New York Islanders to go to their second back-to-back Stanley Cup. And those of you that saw the game, you probably think that the game was just won for pure talent, but those of you that are familiar with the work, you should know all about how these games are rigged. They are using a system called Gematria, which is the simple practice of coding numbers into words. And they're using this code to script the games. The games are all rigged and coded around this language of letters and numbers. And if you learn how the system works, then you can pretty much predict who's going to win the game. You see, on June 28th, the Lightning are going to play the Canadiens. That's game one of the Stanley Cup. And that's a special day because that's the 179th day of the year. And in this code of Gematria, the name of the team, Tampa Bay Lightning, the team that just won today, using the simple cipher, the alphabetical order, sums to 179. So game one is on the 179th day of the year and is going to host these two teams, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. You know, when I was looking over, I was decoding the game yesterday morning, the Lightning versus the Islanders game, and I was trying to determine who's going to win that game. That's the first thing I did. I looked at when is game one going to be played, and then I noticed that game one was scheduled for June 28th, the 179th day of the year, and right away I saw that Tampa Bay Lightning equals 179 Gematria. I said that is the team that's going to play on June 28th. The team with the 179 connection, not the Islanders. A lot of people on my Patreon like the Islanders for whatever reason, but the numbers, they was just too strong on the Islanders. You know, there was too strong on the Lightning. There was a couple of things that could have went the other way. Like, for example, the Islanders could have picked up their 44th win of the season, and Lightning is 44, and the name of the arena is 44 as well. But there was just too many other things that favored the Lightning advancing and playing on June 28th versus the Canadiens. This is the code that they're using to script these games. And if you learn it, you're going to make a lot of money off of it. Because this stuff is so repetitive. And they do it in all sports. They do it in hockey. They do it in baseball. They do it in football. They do it in basketball, boxing, you name it. The only reason sometimes we get stuff wrong is because, again, if you look at the screen, we're dealing with a lot of numbers. And this stuff can be tricky sometimes. And it is difficult at times. But there's certain games, certain series that the numbers are just clear cut. And the Islanders and Lightning series was one of those series. You know, it was game 7. Even though the Lightning was the favorite, you know, that doesn't mean anything in sports. A lot of times the underdog does win. I mean, the Canadiens, they wasn't even supposed to be Vegas, if you really go by that, you know. They was the underdog in that series, and they beat the Vegas Golden Knights. So, being the favorite and being the underdog does not mean you're going to win the game. How you determine who's going to win the game is by understanding this system. And I'm going to show you guys all the things that I noticed before the game, and hopefully you guys can learn from this video, and you yourself can start decoding these games, just like how I do. I do this every single day, so that's why I'm pretty good at it. Even though sometimes I do make mistakes, but I make lesser mistakes than the average handicapper. You know, if you go to Vegas and you ask your average handicapper what is their average, their betting average, it's probably under 50%. By understanding this code, you're gonna rise your percentage to at least 70. I've had streaks where I've gone 23-0. But that's very difficult to do. I've only done it once. So I'm not going to say that, I could go 23-0 every time. It's not that easy. But 23-0, it's an amazing streak. And I doubt it. Anybody in Vegas is doing that. I doubt it. And the only reason I'm doing that is because of this system. Simple system. It's the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. They're applying numbers to letters. That's all they're doing. And they're rigging the game with this system. Think about it. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup is on the 179th day of the year. If you just take the alphabetic order and write out Tampa Bay Lightning, you're going to get 179. So that's the team that's going to play on June 28th. The team with the 179 connection. That's how simple this stuff is. This is the all-time record between the Lightning and the Islanders, right? This was Game 7. This was me looking at who's going to win the game for game, who's going to advance to the Stanley Cup. Almost 90% of the Patreons had the Islanders today. And this is what separates a lot of decoders, because it's like you guys have to look at other things, just because you're able to make one connection, because a lot of people was talking about the 44. Oh, the Islanders are going to pick up the 44th win versus Lightning because Lightning is 44. Okay, yeah, that's one connection, but there's other things as well, like the 179 on June 28th. I mean, that's a strong connection. See, those are the things you want to look out for. For example, the NBA Finals this year, it starts on the day with 56 numerology. And the two teams that might be playing there are the two teams with the 56 connection in Gematria, which are the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns. So looking at game 1 of the championship game is very important. Looking at the day numerology is very important. And matching that to the Gematria of the team. Something that I should have did when I was decoding the playoffs, but that's a different story. But this is the record of the Islanders versus the Lightning, all-time record. And the Islanders, they were 7-15 all-time versus the Lightning. The Lightning won today and became 16-7 all-time against the Islanders in the playoffs. And 167 is the 39th prime, and New York equals 39. And it was also 39 days before Tom Brady's birthday. And I think last year the Tampa Bay Lightning also went to the Stanley Cup. They actually won the Stanley Cup last year. And it was all connected to Tom Brady because Tom Brady plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you think about it, just think about what they did in sports. They had all the Tampa Bay teams go to the championship game. They had the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series. They had the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup. Of course, they had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. So they could probably do the same thing this year. I'm looking very close at the Rays again. Because if they do it again, then I guess the Bucks might repeat. And Tom Brady might become 8-3, the football number. Like his birthday. But, we're not there yet. Let's just take it one game at a time. So the Lightning became 16-7 versus the Islanders, and 167 is the 39th prime. And New York is 39, right? Now, all these clues is how I am able to, determine and make a choice, make a decision at the end. Just finding one connection, that's bad decoding. I didn't just see the 179 and say, you know what, the Tampa Bay Lightning are gonna win today. There was other things as well that made my decision much easier. Like this, for example, this was the Islanders goalie. Semyon, I can't say his name. I'm not even going to try. But if you notice his record in the playoffs, he's 7-6. He was 7-6 in the playoffs this year. And in Gematria, the team he plays for equals 77. He became 7-7 today by losing to the Lightning. Speaking of 77, if you notice the Tampa Bay Lightning, their playoff record all time, they was 102-77. They stayed on 77 all-time playoff losses to the team with the 77 connection. See, all these things is what makes my decisions so much easier. This is more than just finding a 144 favoring the Islanders and putting money on that. I mean, why would you put money on just one connection like that? I don't know. You guys can do whatever you like with your money, but if you're gonna invest money on the pick, make sure it lines up this way in favor of the team that you're putting money on. The Islanders head coach Barry Trotz, he picked up his 79th career playoff loss today, and Tampa Bay equals 79. Notice down here, he's 83-78 coming into the game. Picked up his 79 versus Tampa Bay. And notice the goalie, the Tampa Bay Lightning goalie, his name also equals 79. It was also 48 weeks after his birthday. And the Islanders, the Lightning picked up their 48th win of the season. But I think the nail in the coffin was really the 179 for me. Because I was like, look at that. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals is on the 179th day of the year. I mean, I don't really need to see anything else. But, you know, the other things, they make my pick a lot easier to make. So, I'm not going to release who I have winning the Stanley Cup. I'm only going to put that out on Patreon. So, Game 1 is on June 28th. And, you know, last year, the Game 1 was, I got to make sure, before I say this, I got to make sure. Because I think last year, Game 1 was on the 263rd day of the year. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup, which is the 56th prime. Let me just make sure. I think it was, though. September 19th. I think that is. September 19th. Let's see. Yeah, that was. So Game 1 last year was on the 263rd day of the year, which is the 56th prime. Look what they did this year. So John Cooper is the Lightning head coach. He has that Kobe Bryant birthday. He was born August 23rd. And Game 1, like, it's on the 179th day of the year on June 28th. Game 1 is 56 days before his birthday. And Canadians is 56. And if you measure from his last birthday, it's 44 weeks, like how Lightning is 44. So this was another connection that I said, you know what? They're going to go with the Lightning to play the Canadians because this lines up perfectly with the head coach. Game 1 is 56 days before his birthday, and Canadians is 56. Like how last year, Game 1 was on the 263rd day of the year, the 56th prime. And that's a big number with the Jesuits, right? Society of Jesus is 56. So look at that. History repeating itself. So the question is, are the Lightning going to repeat? Or are they going to have the first Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup? Because I think Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup in a very long time. I will have to look up the stat. When was the last time a Canadian team? To be honest, I don't even think they ever. Maybe they have. I don't remember. Me personally, I don't remember a Canadian team winning the Stanley Cup. And just think about the mockery of that, because hockey is just a Canadian sport, and they haven't had a Canadian team win a Stanley Cup. This is how you can prove this stuff is just rigged. You know how good these Canadians are in hockey. How is it that they never won a Stanley Cup ever? And I'm saying ever because I'm not sure, because I think they have won. I just think they haven't won in a long time. But you know, Montreal Canadiens could be the first Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup. Or they could probably give it back to the Stanley Cup defending champions, the Lightning. Let's see. I'm going to put out a video for this. I'm going to decode all the Stanley Cup later on. Actually tomorrow. Actually today. Today's Saturday here in New York. But later on in the night, I'm going to put out my video on Patreon. And hopefully we get it right and you guys can benefit from it and put a future in before the series starts. The series is not starting until Monday, so the video will definitely be up before Monday. So in case you guys are new here, this stuff is really easy to understand. This is Gematria. It's the alphabetical order forwards and backwards. Forwards, Tampa Bay Lightning is 179, like how Game 1 of the Stanley Cup is on the 179th day of the year. And this is something you could have saw in the beginning of the season. I'm not sure if they had the Stanley Cup schedule out in the beginning of the season, but it's always good to look at, when is Game 1 of the championship game, because the day numerology, it usually points at who's going to play in that game. Like how last year in the NBA playoffs, I'm going to show you guys what they did last year. So last year, NBA Finals, Game 1, Lakers and Heat, right? This is what they did last year. So Game 1 was played on September 30th, 2020. Look what they did last year. And I should have did this. Being wrong is what made me realize that they was doing it this way. Because if I would have knew this before, I would have had the Heat playing the Lakers last year. So you see how game one was played on September 30th? A day with 79 and 43 numerology? Look. Just take the two basic ciphers. Just write out Miami Heat. 79 and 43. Game one of the NBA Finals was scheduled on the day with 79 and 43 numerology. And 79 was a big number last year because LeBron James was going to win the championship. And it was all about 79 because LeBron's full name equals 79. LeBron Ramon. I hope I'm spelling it right. I'm not. Because it's supposed to equal 79. So let me just Google his name. I think it's Ramon. Okay, so it's LeBron Ramon James. Guy's full name equals 79 in Gematria in the most pure cipher. And that's who won the championship last year. So they had the team with the 79 connection play Mr. LeBron Ramon James on a day with 79 numerology. See that? So this year, 179 connects to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Last year in the NBA playoffs, they had the date numerology syncing up with the team that was going to play the Lakers. And they do this every year. But I don't know. For some reason, I overlooked that. I used to call championship games that way. Because I remember when the Houston Astros played the Nationals. Actually, we could look that up as well. Just to show you that they do this every single year. So Astros versus Nationals, game one of the World Series. They do this every year. Every year. Oh, man. So, look. October 22nd, 2019. Let's go to the date numerology. Look at that. You see how the game one was played on a day with leaving 70 days left in the year? 70? That's a Houston Astros number. Is it Astros or Houston? Okay, so Astros is 70. They had the Astros playing on the day leaving 70 days left in the year. And then in that World Series, the Nationals won 105 games. Like how Nationals equals 105. If you add their season wins plus their playoff wins, it equals 105. And Nationals in the alphabetic order equals 105. That is a fact. October 22nd. And this was the big George Herbert Walker Bush 3-2-2 ritual. This is why they had the Nationals win 2. Then the Astros win 3. And then the Nationals win 2. Like 3-2-2. And they had W versus H in the World Series. Like WH. Like his middle initials. George H.W. Bush. Of course, he lived in Houston. He worked in Washington. The former president. They do this every single year. So these Stanley Cups are no different. There it is. June 28th, the 179th of the year. So if you guys are interested in knowing who's going to win the Stanley Cup, I advise that you join the Patreon. I'm going to leave a link in the comment section. And hopefully we get it right this year. And I think we are going to get it right. Because there's a lot of numbers. They're looking good. That's what I'm going to say. I don't want to guarantee anything because this stuff is difficult and tricky. So I'm going to be very careful before I put out that video. Because my reputation is on the line. Every time I put out a pic, my reputation is on the line. So I want to preserve my reputation. I want it to be a positive one. Because I'm not going to go perfect. I'm not ever going to be perfect. But I do want to be above average. So I'll leave it there. Thanks to the 23 people who joined us this evening. Good luck, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.